This video is about two new power amplifiers from JBL Synthesis, the SMA8300 and SMA4750. Now, JBL Synthesis produces a range of high-performance home theater products, including speakers, surround sound processors, and power amplifiers. They are by far one of our favorite home theater brands at Audio Advice, as an all JBL Synthesis home theater is considered by many to be just about as good as it gets. In fact, we are an exclusive nationwide online dealer for JBL Synthesis products, and when you choose JBL Synthesis for your home theater, our team of home theater designers and installers will work very closely with JBL engineers to help you every step of the way on your home theater journey. Now, these two new power amps are so flexible that they've actually replaced 5 models from their previous lineup. Now, we have to say up front that these amplifiers are not for everyone. They are designed to work best with JBL speakers and JBL subwoofers. While they are not exactly inexpensive, they are extremely powerful with some very unique tuning and installation features. We do see them as a perfect match for many JBL Synthesis home theaters and media rooms, plus they will team up well for people looking for a high-performance multi-room audio system using JBL architectural speakers. Finally, the SMA-4750, while a perfect match for JBL subwoofers and some of their upper end speakers, could also be used for anyone looking for extreme power with some very unique fine-tuning capabilities that you don't normally find in a power amplifier. So before we dive into all the details, I think it's important to understand how this great brand came to be. JBL has a really long history in the music industry, from being the speakers behind the Grateful Dead's famous Wall of Sound, to studio and commercial theater use around the world, to world-class music halls like the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville. Way back in 1983, when home theater was actually just in its infancy, Lucasfilm chose JBL to develop the first commercial THX licensed cinema speaker system. After designing these systems for commercial theaters in 1992, JBL Synthesis released the first home theater system using the same technology, and the rest is history. So one big distinction that JBL had with their early synthesis systems compared to the competition back then was the ability to fine-tune the system to the listening space. This was long before things like Dirac, Odyssey, and other things came onto the scene. JBL pulled their technology from their Pro Sound division, where tuning a concert space is critical to a good experience. In those early days, it took a JBL technician traveling to your home and spending the day calibrating your theater using the variety of tools from the JBL Pro software, as there was just no way for an individual to do this on their own. So as technology moved forward, room correction has obviously become easier for the average DIY person with software like Dirac and others. But you can make things even better if you can find the problems in your room and correct them ahead of the room correction software. This is called pre-equalization, or PEQ. If you do this, when you run the test tones, the software is reading a signal that is much closer to ideal, so it doesn't have to work as hard to fix it. The catch is, you will only find PEQ on ultra high-end surround sound processors, or have to go a somewhat clunky route and use an external equalizer and all of its software. In addition, amplifier power is another area that has been evolving over the years. Soundtracks in today's action movies can be extremely demanding. Sometimes you'll have several seconds of thundering bass coupled with explosive special effects, and it's a lot to handle. Well, this type of demand can really tax a system, and it's why having a lot of reserve power is really important. Without enough power, you may encounter clipping or distortion, which will ruin your listening experience. And this is just where these new amps from JBL come in. These two new amplifiers from JBL Synthesis give you both huge amounts of reserve power with easy-to-use PEQ and more. So let's dive into the details and find out what they're all about. Now, the SMA8300 and SMA4750 are a complete redo of their SDA8300 and SDA4600 power amplifiers. These had been the go-to amps for JBL Synthesis systems, but their engineers knew that they could be improved on. JBL is actually part of the Harman Group, which is then owned by Samsung. Now, Crown Audio is also part of the Harman Group and has been making professional amplifiers since 1947. Well, JBL leveraged that partnership for some of their amplifiers, like the ones these new models replace. The catch was that these amps use different types of connectors that you don't typically see in home theater gear, and they required the use of JBL's Audio Architect software to configure them, which had a pretty steep learning curve. They were also designed to sit in large racks at concert venues where fan noise was not an issue at all. Now, in a brilliant move, JBL tasked one of their engineers who had a long background in residential home theater to take these to an entirely different level. Everything about these amps has been improved to give better sound, more power, home theater friendly connections, and best of all, a new software interface that anyone somewhat technical can easily use. So let's start by going over the features that both of the new models share first. First is their improved connections. The amplifiers they replaced used what is called a Phoenix type connector for the incoming audio signal. This connector uses bare wire with a screw down terminal, which is obviously not used in the home audio world very often. The JBL Synthesis replaced all of these with solid XLR balanced input connections. The speaker terminals on the older ones also used a barrier strip speaker connector, which again is not commonly used in home theater. Now, these were switched out to heavy duty binding posts that accept up to 10 gauge bare wire or a spade lug or even a banana plug. Now next, any amplifier like this needs to convert the incoming analog audio signal to digital for all of its built-in processing. Then the signal is converted back into analog for the amplifier stage. The parts used for these two conversion processes can have a pretty big impact on the ultimate musicality of the power amplifier. Well, we couldn't quite get the exact part number of the A to D or D to A converters. We do know that they went with audiophile grade AKM parts. Now, AKM DACs are well respected in the high performance audio community, so we were pretty happy to see them used in these. In addition, the power output increased on both models, but more importantly, the power supplies were improved to give more reserve for those dynamic musical peaks. The engineers evaluated everything about the signal path, and the end result is an amplifier with a sound that can actually compete against some of the best home theater power amplifiers on the market today. Now next, in the commercial world, the original JBL Synthesis amps were derived from the idea that fan noise is never a problem. But of course, in a residential space, it's a pretty big deal. Audio Advice usually installed the older amps in a separate room to keep the fan noise from being an issue. The entire topology of the new SMA-8300 and SMA-4750 was totally redone to reduce fan noise. They went from being quite loud to almost silent at normal levels and only 50 dB at continuous full power, which is an incredible improvement. Plus, the older models used contact closures to automatically power amps on and off. This is very common in the commercial space, but does require a controller of some sort to provide the contact closure. Well, JBL switched this out to a standard 12-volt trigger that we see on all home audio components for power control. Plus, you also get wake on LAN and signal sensing power on off should you wish to go that route. So as I said earlier, the previous models needed that Harman's Audio Architect software to configure them. While this is a really feature-rich program that will do just about anything, it does have a really steep learning curve, like I said, and it's designed more for an engineer managing racks and racks of power amps. Now for these new models, the JBL team took all of the great features of the Audio Architect and actually created a web interface that is simple for anyone to use with some basic DIY skills. Describing everything that it could do would be far too much to go over in this video, so I'm just going to hit on some of the high points here. From a channel management standpoint, you can make any channel a single channel, or you can configure two channels to be bridged for more power. You can also route any of the audio inputs to any channel should you wish, but better yet, you can route one input to more than one channel. This really comes in handy for at least 4 applications that we can think of. The first one is for bi-amping, tri-amping, or even quad-amping speakers where you have separate channels of power for different sections of a speaker. Each channel then gives you individual control over low and high pass filters, the slope and type of filter used. So if you have speakers that require bi-amping or more, these amps are a dream for ease of setup. Or if you want to passively bi-amp where the crossovers are still inside your speakers, but you have separate connections on the speaker for high and low, you can send one incoming signal to 2 channels without the need for any external splitters. The other use for this would be multi-room audio where you might have 4 or more speakers in a room and you can just have a stereo feed. Another great use that we see a lot is where the theater space has more than one pair of surround speakers to cover multiple row of seating. You could easily set this up within the amp to take the pair of surround channels coming in and route it to 2 pair of the speakers rather than doing some kind of external splitter cable. Inside this part of the configuration, you can have the amp play pink noise on a channel to confirm that you have everything connected up properly, which is a really nice touch that they added. Another pretty big one here is the PEQ section for each channel. You will have a really nice graphical interface with an 8-band full parametric equalizer. If you do have a way to measure the response of your speakers, this will let you knock down some of the peaks in front of your room correction in your AV processor, which is always a plus. Now, JBL has also measured how their speakers actually perform in average rooms and has even loaded PEQ curves for just about every speaker that they make. These are easily loaded in with the graphical interface. Alright, so those are just some of the high points, but there are many more features built in that make it easy to set up, and especially if you have more than one in a system. Now, let's take a look at each of these two models to help you understand where they might fit into your system and which one could be best for you. Well, the SMA8300 is rated at 300 watts per channel with 2 channels driven. You can bridge any of the 2 channels to give you 1200 watts. With 8 channels on board, it is a great choice for a 7.1 system. If your subwoofers are powered, you could even vertically biamp your center channel speaker if it was set up for that. Now, for higher channel count JBL Synthesis theaters, you simply use more than one of these, and with its great configuration flexibility, you might vertically biamp all 3 front channels depending on what your channel count is. Now, the SMA8300 could be a wonderful power amplifier for serious multi-room audio too. With its built-in PEQ, you could fine-tune each speaker to your space and give your speakers some serious power for amazing audio performance. Okay, so moving on to the SMA-4750, this one is one powerful beast. JBL made this one to mate up with their best synthesis speakers and powerful passive subwoofers. It is 4 channels rated at 750 watts each, and in bridge modes provides a whopping 2500 watts. The SMA-4750 will find its home with power-demanding subwoofers and high-performance speakers that benefit from all the high-quality reserve power that it can provide. It has all the same tuning capabilities as the SMA-8300, just has far more power. Okay, so overall, these are incredible new amps from JBL Synthesis, but we do wish that they would come out with a lower power version at a reduced cost to open up the built-in tuning to more people for both home theater and multi-room audio. Something like the 8300 with 100 watts per channel could be really cool to see in the future. But nonetheless, the 8300 and 4750 from JBL Synthesis will open up JBL sound and tuning to a whole new market of people. You no longer need custom software to configure these, and you can use standard audio connections, which is a huge plus. The power of the SMA8300 will be plenty for almost all home theaters, and if you need more, you can always go with the 4750. So if you're considering a JBL Synthesis theater, these should definitely be one of your first choices for power. Now, if you are building a home theater or media room and you want to check out our Home Theater Central page at audiodevice.com, we have everything that you're going to need, from our free home theater design tool to even buying guides and an inspiration gallery. Now, if you have more questions about these amps or anything home theater or audio or video related, reach out to our experts at audiodevice.com. We'd be happy to help you. If you'd like to consider supporting us, please give this video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and consider turning on the notifications so you don't miss out on any of our latest content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.